Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Week 6 edition of the Next Game, New Game podcast. We're finally back in our podcast format. Had a little bit of a hiatus and had to jump on the Facebook Live for the last couple of weeks, but we have Alex Kozora back. Alex, how's it going? Good to have you back.
Good to be back. Good to talk about some Steelers victories. That's what I was just waiting for, just for the Steelers to win, and then I'd hop back on. That was the plan.
Oh, that was your plan. Okay. Well, it's good, and it's going to be talking some good Eagles football, too, as they bounce back against the New York Giants last night. We'll get into that in a sec, but we're glad to be back in our podcast format. For those that watched on Facebook Live the last couple of weeks, we thank you for your views and your patience as we kind of flipped around the format a little bit, so until we were all back. So good to have Alex back. Hopefully we'll get Ian and D-Jock back soon here in the next couple of weeks. But Alex, let's get into it with the Eagles last night. It's been an ugly last 2 weeks for them. They blow the lead and lose in overtime in Tennessee. They had the ugly game against the Vikings last week at the Link. And then last night, they get the game that they needed at the exact right time, where defensively they play one of their better games of the season. Offensively, same thing. Carson Wentz really took the team on his back, I thought, last night, put in a tremendous performance. Alshon Jeffrey as well. Overall, this really looked like the team that I thought the Eagles were going to be headed into this season. This was a team that looked focused, they looked motivated, and they came in there ready to play and took out the Giants really from the first possession on, starting with the Kamu Grugier-Hill interception on the first possession of the game. And so, crossroads at the time for the Eagles, Week 6, we're at that point really for a lot of NFL teams. I feel like it's for majority of the NFL teams, with the exception of a handful that are already done, an exception of teams like the Rams and the Chiefs, and of course the Steelers are one of those teams that are in the crossroads now, Alex, that they've turned it around. We'll get to them in a second. But going to the Eagles last night, other than defending Saquon Barkley, this would have been a 34-0 game instead of 34-13. Like I said, I really thought the Eagles looked ready to play, focused and motivated, and I think they had a little bit of a coming out party, though I think you do have to take somewhat of a grain of salt with this because the Giants are an absolutely lifeless team right now.
Yeah, that's the direction I was going to head, Catrillo. You're right that the Eagles played well. They were 2-3. It's a game that you really had to have, even with the NFC East being probably the worst division in football. I think it's probably a safe assessment at this point. But, yeah, they played well, and it was from the word go. Like you said, you get the interception from Grugier-Hill. He's been a great player. It's a great story, former special teamer that's cracked the starting lineup. And
love this kid.
Produced some big splash plays. You get a good lead on the Giants early. You help take the run game out of the equation a little bit. And, of course, anytime Eli Manning dropped back pass, disaster was pending. The line can't block. Manning can't drive the football down the field. He's turned the football over. He's making just horrendous throws. So you're right. It was partially because of the Giants' own ineptness, but credit to the Eagles for getting the job done. That's the way you should beat bad teams. You should blow them out and win comfortably. So, yes, the Giants are a bad team, but the Eagles played them and won like the Giants were a bad team.
Absolutely, and I think you tweeted this out just a little while ago. One touchdown pass for Eli Manning in the last 104 pass attempts. Oh,
and that was
wow.
after the first half, so I think it's at 120 right now.
Oh, my. Wow. That is just brutal.
I mean, with Barkley and Beckham, I don't even make this too much about the Giants, but with those two weapons, you put up 13 points. That's it.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, it's absolutely atrocious. And I thought the game plan for the Giants really was pretty lazy, if you ask me, because all that they were doing is they were just throwing to the outside with these short passes to get the ball out of Eli's hands, which obviously didn't work because the Eagles still sacked him 4 times. That's how bad their O-line is. And they literally just tried to beat the Eagles secondary, who's had a slow start to the season, basically by their speed, based on what they saw from the Eagles the last couple of weeks. And once the Eagles said that wasn't going to fly and they made all those plays and made a lot of nice tackles last night in the open field, then the Giants basically just gave up other than Saquon Barkley. I mean, it was really a lazy, a terrible offensive game plan for the Giants last night.
Yeah, and I don't make too much about the Giants here, but yeah, they were terrible, and the Eagles played well. Carson Wentz, I think, is showing that aggressiveness. You got a lot of weapons. Alshon Jeffrey's playing well. You're still figuring out the run game. Coach Jay Ajayi up at Zach Ertz, I think, had a touchdown last night on a really nice route to the corner.
Yep.
It seems he just needs to get back on track. And hopefully the line gets a little bit healthier. Lane Johnson's back with that ankle. I know Peters just tore his bicep. He's going to play through that.
It seems to be at this point, but Doug Peterson said today in his day after presser that they're still waiting a couple more results, but it seems positive, which is a good sign because if you have your 2 tackles banged up, you're going to be shifting guys around, which the Eagles had to do at the end of the game, but they obviously could afford to have done so because they had the big lead.
Yeah, I still consider the Eagles a talented team that's going to ascend from here, and that's kind of my mindset of where
I
this
agree.
team is at.
Yeah, I do. I think this is exactly the the turning point the Eagles needed. Again, they still have a lot to prove, I think, and that starts with trying to beat the Carolina Panthers at home next Sunday, which I will be in attendance for, by the way. I'm looking forward to that next week with my dad. So um, let's turn things now to the Steelers a little bit because this still ties to what the Eagles might need here. Of course, the Eagles may be still shopping for a running back. A lot of rumors about maybe trading back for LaShawn McCoy from the Bills. But the Le'Veon Bell rumors, Alex, are still out there. I know we've talked about this before, how difficult it will be to pull off a trade, and with all the logistics that'll be in that as far as his contract goes and things like that. What do you think about a deal maybe getting done between the Eagles and the Steelers? Last time I heard, there's only one report. I don't know what you've heard, Alex. Is that the Steelers are looking for a second and a third round pick from the Eagles?
Yeah, I think most of that's speculation. I really haven't heard a whole lot, haven't paid a whole lot of attention to it because I don't believe it's going to happen. I know that you guys redid Fletcher Cox deal. That's going to open up cap space for the present.
And if they did that, that would exactly fill the cap hit that Eagles would take on if they were to trade for Le'Veon Bell, which is why it's led to all this speculation. But I agree with you. I don't see this really happening either.
Yeah, I mean, I think just a blanket statement, if Bell's going to get traded at all, it's going to be after he reports. And he's supposed to be reporting next week during the bye. I don't think any deal is going to get done until he signed the tag, because that is one of the many hurdles that has to be overcome for this deal to happen, is that Bell's really needs to sign the tag. I mean, just objectively and factually, for a trade to happen, he has to sign the tag at some point. Otherwise, it cannot be completed. And I think no team will be comfortable with acquiring Bell until he's signed the tag, reported to the Steelers, and then worst case scenario, you're going to have him for however long you're going to have him for. I mean, it's not going to be a question of, okay, if he gets traded, is he not going to want to play and decide to sit out, or, what else unpredictable is going to happen. So I still don't see the deal happening. I believe the Steelers are open to trading him. I don't rule it out entirely, but I just think the logistics are so tough to overcome that it's just too difficult to do.
Right. Plus, you add into the fact that whoever would want to trade for Bell would probably want to sign that long-term deal, maybe, and that throws a whole other caveat into it.
Well, they can't do a long-term deal until after the season.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. So,
yeah.
But,
that's the hurdle, though. You're essentially getting a rental player with the hope of a long-term deal. But what if he gets hurt? What if the production isn't there? What if his contract demands change? Whatever the case is. So that's a lot of risk for a team to try to do a deal.
Right, and with the Steelers at this point, Alex, they're getting a win, or coming off a win that they needed desperately, 41-17, dominating the Falcons, who look like they're heading for a lifeless season themselves with a lot of injuries that they're dealing with. And again, I think best all-around game from the team this year, offensively, defensively. Thoughts coming out of this game, and now as we've seen, we both talked about this for the Steelers. This is right, and they can play right in their hands now. Their season's in their hands, being they have 3 division games coming up right in a row, starting with the pretty tough Bengals team on Sunday. This Bengals team, Alex, is a lot better than I thought, especially offensively.
The whole AFC North is better than what I thought it would be, and you're right. I've said these next 3 weeks will define the Steelers season. It will not end the Steelers season. It will not make the Steelers season, but it will define the shape. And I think they really have to go at least 2-1 over these next 3 weeks. Ideally, a win over Cincinnati, who's sitting in first place right now at 4-1, would help, get you right back on track and right into the thick of this AFC North race. But yeah, it's going to be a really critical stretch coming up. 3 games in 4 weeks with the bye sandwich in between. But to the Falcons game, yeah, their most complete game, offense, defense, special teams. They just, they were successful on third down. They came into that game 28th in the NFL in third down percentage. They went 9-12, which was huge. They converted their red zone opportunities. The red zone offense has had a dramatic turnaround since ever, basically. They're second in the league in red zone offense. They've only been top 10 once under Mike Tomlin, which is an absurd stat when you have Ben and AB and Bell in that offensive line. But yeah, just played a really complete game. They took away the Falcons' best weapon in Julio Jones, a really strong game plan. Still concerns with this team because they just are so darn unpredictable. I don't know what version of the Pittsburgh Steelers you're going to get every week. Are you going to get the Falcons win team? Are you going to get the defense of the Chiefs and the offense of the Ravens game? You just don't know. But hopefully they're going to get back on track, and like you said, these next 3 weeks are going to be critical. This team has to go at least 2-1. If they don't, they're back where they were before the Falcons game. We were saying if you lose this next one, you're in serious trouble, but we'll see what happens.
That's exactly right. I still think there's a lot of concerns with the secondary. I think there's a lot of concerns still with this linebacking core. Or I guess really the defense in general.
Yeah,
but those
you just say the defense.
Yeah, let's just say the whole defense. Yeah, let's just say the whole defense in general.
You're
but,
right, though.
Yeah, I think when you look at that, that's the main concern there. And of course, the Steelers still, Alex, we'll talk about this briefly before we do our picks for this week. Still can't get themselves out of their own way from off-the-field distractions. Now you have these two lawsuits come out against Antonio Brown, apparently throwing furniture off a balcony that almost hurt and maybe even killed a toddler. I think there's nothing more to say than it's just one thing after another off the field for the Steelers, but they still somehow find a way to keep it together on the field, at least for initially through this past week.
Well, I think there's a pretty clear reason for that, Catrillo, is that these stories are bigger stories outside the locker room than they are inside the locker room. I think they're much less of a distraction than people make it out to be, especially the AB stuff. I don't even care about the recent AB stuff with the lawsuits. Those are civil suits. Who cares? Players get sued. I don't know if AB did something wrong or not. I'm not trying to say he's innocent or guilty. I don't know. Obviously, I was not there. But if you think that's affecting the play of anybody, is a random civil suit, it's just not true. I mean, they've dealt with so much worse in bigger stories that this is literally the thing I could care about anything. Couldn't care about anything less than this story. And so it's a non-distraction. It's a non-issue. And this team will continue to win in spite of all the quote unquote distractions that surround them.
Right, and after all that, I mean, I think that's definitely the least. What this particular incident with Antonio Brown, the least of the issues that they've had. When you look at it at the offseason as a whole. All right, so let's jump in it for Week 6 picks. Let's start with the Steelers and Bengals. Alex, who do you got for Sunday afternoon in Cincy?
I'll go with the Steelers just because of their historical dominance in Cincinnati. I give a lot of respect to the Bengals. They're a better team than in the past. They have a better divisional labor in the run game. They have more weapons in the pass game. That defense is still strong. Geno Atkins is 30. Still playing maybe the best football of his career. But I think the Steelers finally figured things out last week. And I think that they're going to kind of hopefully take off from there. So I'll go with the Steelers in this one.
I think you're going to see it. I think you will see a shootout this week. Both offenses very good. Both and with the Steelers' defensive struggle secondary, I think Andy Dalton can have a field day with AJ Green, etc. But I still am going to go with the Steelers too, just because I still don't fully believe in Andy Dalton as a quarterback. I think there's still a point where he might have a field day, but then what is he going to be situationally late in the game? And this Bengals team as a whole last week had to dig out of a 17-0 hole against a terrible, I think, Dolphins team, despite they had a 3-0 start. I think they're a fraud team this year. And so with that being said, I think the Steelers did find a way to turn things around. I think special teams, too, they keep making plays and find a way to create turnovers on the defensive side. I think they can do that. So I'm going to take the Steelers to win a close game in a shootout in Sin City. Next game, new game. The Falcons coming off the beating from the Steelers last week, hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Alex, did the Falcons bounce back, or is this really going to start heading south for them?
That's tough. I'm going to go with the Falcons. I like their offense a little bit more. Both defenses are bad. Steelers have seen them both put up points on each of these teams. 30 against Tampa, 41, or I guess 34 against Atlanta because it was a defensive touchdown last week. But I think the Falcons are going to get Grady Jarrett back. That's going to be the big boost to that interior. They got an interior rookie named Deidre Sinat from USF, the rookie that's played really well. I think the Falcons have a strong interior defensive line, strong defensive line in general. That's going to be enough. They'll get the victory.
I'm taking the Buccaneers. I don't believe in this Falcons team one bit. I think they're really beat up in the secondary. They're really, really missing Keanu Neal, who got hurt against the Eagles week 1. I think they've been awful in the red zone. They continue to be awful in the red zone, situationally, third down, etc. Matt Ryan doesn't look like the MVP he once was. I don't know what's going on with him this year. Obviously, they still have injuries at running back, too. Devonta Freeman's barely been able to stay healthy. We'll see if he plays Sunday. It looks like he might play. We do have Jameis Winston making his first start. Tampa Bay hasn't been exactly strong either. They got pounded by the Bears not too long ago. But I just think they're the better team right now overall than the Falcons are. So I'm going to take Tampa Bay to win that game on the road. Next game, new game. The LA Chargers against, they should be still in San Diego. The LA Chargers against the Cleveland Browns. In Cleveland, the Browns have a better record than 14 other teams right now in the NFL, which is crazy. But they are 2-2-1. Also, a Chargers team, Alex, that I think is still under the radar, and I like where they are. They're off to a better start than what they normally have done in the past, and I like the Chargers to win this football game this week. What say you?
Give me Cleveland. San Diego coming out to Cleveland's place. Big Baker Mayfield fan. He's done a fantastic job. The run game has a lot of threats. The pass game has more weapons than ever, though I think they're missing Higgins this week. And the Chargers just still miss guys like Joey Bosa. I don't know where that pass rush is really going to come from. I know there are some weapons there. I'm a big Phillip Rivers fan. But credit to Cleveland. It's an aggressive, attacking defense. It creates some splash. The offense can create big plays on their side of the ball. And they found a little bit more stability at kicker. So give me Cleveland.
Next game, new game. The Bills, coming off the win against the Titans last week, hosting or at Houston. The Texans coming off the overtime win against the Cowboys last week. Alex, who do you got in this?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Houston. I know the Texans have gotten off to a relatively slow start, but the Bills have just been really bad. I don't know what their identity is on offense or defense. Josh Allen, this is from, I think, NFL Matchup tweeted this. Josh Allen's quarterback rating outside of the pocket is 5.7.
Wow.
That's the worst in the NFL. Surprise. Second place is like 39.6 in Matt Stafford. Yeah, I don't know how you get a 5.7 passer rating outside of the pocket. But I'm going Houston in this one.
Now, Josh Allen's had some good looks here and there, but I still think he's overrated as a quarterback. He never should have been the number 7 pick. I don't know what Tennessee was doing last week at all to even lose that game after the big win they had against the Eagles. So I'm taking Houston, too. I think the defense gets a couple of turnovers on Josh Allen to get the win. Next game, new game, the Miami Dolphins, 3-2. They've lost 2 straight after the 3-0 start, hosting Khalil Mack and the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I'm going Chicago in this one. The Dolphins just, sheep in wolves clothing, I think is the saying that probably sums them up well. To get that hot start, all downhill from there. Khalil Mack coming to town. Matt Nagy, I think, has done a fantastic job. Trubisky. I just want them to consistently get Tariq Cohen involved. I don't want him to be a Duke Johnson where he's so hit and miss, where they don't find the ball to him in games and lose because of it. I know there are other weapons on that team, but I think Tariq Cohen, I think that's the last week he showed the big play potential that he showed as a rookie. So get him involved. Chicago wins this one.
Yeah, I'm with you there. As I mentioned before, I'm not a big fan of this Dolphins team. I think they stink. Give me the Bears to win this game outright. Matt Nagy's doing a great job. Manheim Central grad, not too far away from here where I am in Central Pennsylvania, doing a great job. Give me the Bears to win that game outright. Next game, new game. The Arizona Cardinals picking up their first win last week against the Niners, on the road to take on the Vikings, coming off the big win against the Eagles.
I know the Cardinals defense has done a really nice job keeping them in games, and I'm glad that Josh Rosen's the guy quarterback, but I'm going Minnesota. I'm not going to overthink this one. Good luck covering Thielen and Diggs. Just not happening. Dalvin Cook comes back. Hopefully he's healthy. So Vikings roll in this one.
Yeah, Adam Thielen's amazing. He put on a show against the Eagles last week with a couple of catches he had. Josh Rosen had a good start. Tough defense he's playing this week. So I'm taking the Vikings as well to win that one. Next game, new game. The Colts, 1-4, taking on the Jets, who are 2-3 at MetLife Stadium. Jets have won 3 of the last 4 against the Colts, Alex.
I'm going to go with the Colts in this one. Their record probably isn't the best indicator of how well they've played. They've been competitive in some of these games, even came back against New England. The Jets have seemed to fall off. Week 1 against Detroit was kind of the peak, it felt like. And so I know neither of these teams are great, but I think the Colts' run game's more stable with Marlon Mack returning. So I'm going with Indians. When Luck looks like the Andrew Luck we know the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, he definitely has, Alex. He's looked pretty well. And really, this is a tough Colts team. You can tell Frank Reich has the pulse of this team right away, right from the get-go. And I think that I kind of knew that was going to happen going, as that's how good of a coach I think Frank Reich is. Yeah. And I still can't figure out this Jets team. They bounced back with a good win last week, but there's still a lot of things I don't know about Sam Darnold, that offense, that defense, everything about this team. So I'm going to take the Colts because I think they're going to be able to execute late in the game. I think Frank Reich is starting to learn game management, especially late in the ball game as he goes along this season. I love Marcus Hunt, too, in that Colts defensive front. Having a chance to see them against the Eagles Week 3. So I'm going to take the Colts to grind out a win on the road, a close game on the road.
Yeah, you're right. For Frank Reich, I'll take him over Todd Bowles every day. I don't know how Bowles is still that coach.
Yeah, I'm amazed, too. I'm totally with you there. Next game, new game. In London, the first London game this season, the Seahawks facing their old friend in Marshawn Lynch and John Gruden's Oakland Raiders.
Both these teams are so underwhelming despite some of the talent at quarterback. I'm gonna go Seattle though, just because Oakland's such a frustrating team, and I just think a trip to London isn't gonna make it any less frustrating and chaotic for them. Don't feel good about this one, but I'm picking Seattle.
I'm gonna take Seattle too, just because I think Russell Wilson is playing a little bit better than Derek Carr right now, though it's not by much. And I just think Right now, I don't know what John Gruden is as a head coach right now, so I'm going to take the Seahawks to grind out an ugly, low-scoring game in London. Next game, new game. The Panthers taking on the Redskins down in or outside of D.C. Alex, what do you think?
I'd give me Carolina. Washington, I don't think they're going to play as poorly as they did against the Saints, which, I mean, granted, is going to be really, that's a low bar. But I don't know about that running back situation. AP, I believe, is going to play, but he got hurt. Chris Thompson, who's been a great third down back, took a hospital ball from Alex Smith. I just don't, again, I don't know what the identity offensively or defensively Washington brings, at least with the Panthers. You know, Cam Newton's going to play well. They're going to give the ball to Christian McCaffrey. They got to get him involved in the pass game a little bit more, but you have Devin Funchess being a more impactful number one receiver. The defense, I think, is getting better. And hopefully, I think we'll have Luke Kuechly playing more. So give me Carolina.
I'm going to take Carolina too, Alex. I think they're the better team. I think defensively, there's still some talent there, though I don't think it's as strong as it's been in the past. And I don't know what this Redskins team is either. I think they're a fraudulent team as well, a fool's gold at best. Yeah, they had to win against Green Bay, but then they lose to the Colts the week after. You know, they got crushed this past week against New Orleans. So I don't know what this Redskins team is yet either. I'm taking the Panthers to win that game in Maryland. Next game, new game. This is going to be an interesting game, Alex. You have the 5-0 Rams at the 2-3 Broncos. That pass rush versus that high-powered Rams offense. Plus, it's going to be cold and snowing already in Denver. So we'll see what kind of caveat that throws on the Rams offense. So who do you like, Alex?
Yeah, I disagree. I don't think it's going to be an interesting one. I think it's an easy call. Case Keenum versus Jared Goff, the Rams offense versus the Broncos offense. And even if you grant you the Broncos pass rush, you look at what the Rams front defensive line can do and how well it's going to get after Case Keenum. So I don't think this one's close. Yeah, I know there's going to be some snow. It's all right. I think the Rams will be able to persevere, and they can still run the ball pretty effectively with Todd Gurley if it comes to that. So Rams win by 21 against Denver.
Okay, I think it'll be a little bit closer because I think the Broncos defense will be able to keep the Broncos in it. But I think, yeah, look at that quarterback.
That defense isn't as good as it was a couple years ago. Yeah, there's still Von Miller and like Shaq Barrett, and Chubb, but that defense, that secondary, just hasn't played up to that level like it did.
But when you go to the quarterback play, I still take Jared Goff over Case Keenum any day. Obviously, the offense is so much better. The Broncos still can't get off to good starts and set themselves back. You can't do that against this Rams team. I'm going to take the Rams to win that one, too. Next game, new game. The Dallas Cowboys hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are all of a sudden, Alex, 3-2.
It's Dallas and Jacksonville, right?
Yes. This is in Dallas.
Yeah, still give me Jacksonville, just because that defense is better. I know both offenses are bad. I know Fournette's unlikely to play in this one, but I just watched the Cowboys, and I just could not be more bored by maybe any team in the NFL.
I know, right?
With the exception of, like, a Buffalo or something, but at least the Cowboys have some weapons. Like they have Dak, they have Zeke, and it's just a boring, uninspired team. And I'm just not a fan of Jason Garrett, so give me Jacksonville with at least some elite defense to give him some support.
You know, if this Cowboys offense couldn't move the ball last week against that Texans defense, and there's some talent in the Texans defense, and I'm trying to totally discredit them, but I don't think they're going to be able to move the ball at all against this Jacksonville defense. I know, and I think the only reason why this might stay close is because Jacksonville's offense is inept so far, and they're really missing Leonard Fournette, and this Dallas defense actually has some talent too. But I don't think the Cowboys are going to be able to move the football. I'll be surprised if they put up a touchdown in this game. I think it's going to be more of a field goal fest type of game. I think Jacksonville comes out of there with a win, but it's going to be a very boring, ugly field goal fest type of game. So I'm taking Jacksonville. Next game, new game. The Ravens at the Titans, both teams 3-2.
Give me Baltimore. I think they're a really well-coached team. They win in the trenches. They're physical up front, and they can make some big plays downfield, vertical with John Brown and Flacco's arm. So give me Baltimore.
This is probably my toughest pick I'm going to make this week because I don't really know what both teams are yet either. The Ravens looked terrible against Cleveland last week. Tennessee, the big win against the Eagles. Then they put up a clunker in Buffalo the week before. They have been playing well at home. I do like that Tennessee defense a lot. I think they're very good against the run. So I guess I'm leaning Titans here. I've been leaning for them all week, so I'll stick with that. I'll take Tennessee to eke out a close game on the road. I think the defense makes a play late in that one. Next game, new game, Sunday Night Football. The Chiefs 5-0 at New England to take on the Patriots. Alex, do the Chiefs go to 6-0?
They do, and I can't wait for this one. It's gonna be the best game of the week, hands down. But just defending the Chiefs out of empty, I don't think teams have had a good answer for it. And I know Belichick's obviously gonna have a well-coached team, but that defense still is not particularly strong, and players got to make the plays. And I think the Chiefs just right now, both defenses are pretty bad. I mean, there's no debating that. But Chiefs just have more weapons, and Patrick Mahomes is the real deal.
You are right about that, Alex, but
I
think New England wins this game because I think there's a little bit of – I think that Chiefs defense got exposed last week by giving up the run.
It's been exposed all season, though. They've been battling.
But I think New England's running backs are really dangerous. They can run in between the tackles, but plus they're even more deadly out of the backfield. I don't think the Chiefs are going to be able to have an answer for that. Gronk is back this week, too, though we'll see what kind of shape he's in. But anytime you're in these types of shootouts, I'll still take Tom Brady over anybody else. Yes, Mahomes is playing well, and especially when it comes to them playing in New England too. So I don't feel great about this pick, but I'm going to take New England to give the Chiefs their first loss.
Fair enough.
Next game, new game, final one, Monday Night Football. I think this is going to be a snooze fest. The Packers hosting the Niners.
Yeah, give me Green Bay. Now, it is interesting because Rodgers, I think, re-injured that knee.
Right, he's going to have a larger knee brace because of that. It's a little bit of a setback, but he's still going to play. And I don't care if Rodgers plays half this game, a quarter of this game, the whole game, whatever. He throws 5 picks. The Packers are not losing this football game because C.J. Beathard is the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers.
Well, I think the players have some confidence in Beathard. I think it's going to be a closer game than you think. I think it'll be a 10-point game, to be honest with you, just because the Packers are hurt, and they haven't been perfect this year either. That 49ers defense has played well. Richard Sherman, I know people kind of dogged him. He's played some really good football.
Right, he's played well, but I just don't believe in the Niners. I really don't. So I guess the only thing that would keep this, I guess I would agree, is if this keeps it a close game, is Rodgers' health. But I'm
picking the Packers.
Yeah, I'm picking the Packers too. Yeah. All right, so we split on a couple games, but we were good on a couple, so we'll see how that shapes out. Alex, good to have you back this week, and hopefully we'll get the rest of the gang back sooner or later here as we plug along. But a big one for the Steelers tomorrow. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, and congrats on the Eagles for getting the victory. And I wish the Steelers could play the Giants once this year.
Yeah, right.
Be nice to get a nice W.
Yes, absolutely. So we look forward to that on Sunday at 1 o'clock. And you can follow the show on Twitter at NGNG_NFL. Alex is on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Must follow, of course, during game days, really any part of the season for the NFL and for the Steelers. And I'm on Twitter at MControllo. So that's going to do it for this week's edition of the show. For Alex Kozora, I'm Matt Contrillo. Thanks for listening to the Next Game, New Game podcast.